Hello everyone and welcome to this first video in a longer series where we show you how to interact with and use Fivemanage. And in this first video, we're going to show you how to use the FMSDK, our FiveM SDK, to log messages from your FiveM server to Fivemanage. In this specific video, I'm not going to go into detail on how to download and add this resource into your FiveM server, but I'm going to walk you through some of the required dependencies and where to download this resource from. So in order to find this resource, you want to go to github.com/fivemanage/SDK. The link will also be in the description below, so you can get to it from there. And before we actually download this resource, you need to make sure that you have installed Screenshot Basic. And that is because this resource depends on the Screenshot Basic. So just make sure you have that. Most FiveM servers today do have them by default, but just make sure you have that. And once you do, you can go over to the releases section here. And all you want to do is click on this latest release here. And this number might be different for you. That's fine. Just make sure it's the latest one and then download the FMSDK zip file. Once that's downloaded, you unzip it, and inside of that zip file, you will find the actual resource. And then you add that to the resources folder, and you're good to go. So now that you have added the FMSDK resource to your FiveM server, you should see something like this. You have the dist folder, and you have a config.json file, and you also have the fx manifest Lua file. We're going to go ahead and open up the config.json file, and I'm going to walk you through some of the different options in here. So the first two options is level and levels. Levels is a list ranging from the most to least critical level, and the level option defines the least critical level to capture. So this means that if we set level to info, we will only capture info, warn, and error. If I change this to warn, we will only capture warn and error. The next two are both console and enable cloud logging. Console is just if you want to print the logs in your FX server console, for example, and enable cloud logging is required if you want to send the logs to Fivemanage. And then we have player identifiers. If you want to include the player's identifiers in each log, you can set this to true, but it is required that you add a player source to the log message in order for this to be appended. You can also exclude any player identifiers you want. So in this case, we have excluded IP, but you can also exclude things like Discord, FiveM license, or Steam licenses, whatever you want. And that is the most important options in the config file. And now I'm going to show you how to actually use the log message export. And now that I've added the FMSDK to my FiveM server, I can then go ahead and use the log message export. And what I've done here is that I've created a test resource called FMSDK tutorial with just a basic FX manifest Lua. And in the server Lua file, I've already defined the player connecting event handler. So all we need to do in here is actually just add the export. And once you have this, we can now go ahead and add the required arguments. The first argument in here is the level of the log. This can be anything you want, but we recommend it being either info, error, or warn. In this case, it's just a player connecting. I'm going to define that as an info log. The next argument is the log message, and this should be something that defines either the event or the action being taken. And in this case, it's the player connecting. So I'm going to just say that this is player is connecting. And the next and final argument in this export is the metadata. This is either a table in Lua or a object in JavaScript, and this can be anything. You can put anything you want here, if it's a integer or array or just a string. You can also nest tables or objects if you want to, but in this specific case, we get the player name whenever the player is connecting. So it's only natural that we add the player name as metadata here. And that is basically all you need to do. And behind the scenes, whenever you call this log message export, the export will automatically pick up which resource it's being called from. So we should see FMSDK tutorial as the resource. So now that you have added the export and you have ensured FMSDK and added the API tokens, all we need to do is connect to the server and we should see the log that we have created coming into the dashboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and connect. and then I'll bring you back to the Fivemanage dashboard. And as you can see, we have 2 logs. I made a test earlier today, but we're going to focus on the second one here. And if we click on this, we will see both the log message that we created, which is player is connecting. We also have the metadata fields here, player name, which is Chip, and we also have the resource name that I mentioned being FMSDK tutorial. And that is how simple it is to log with Fivemanage.